Hello, everyone. Welcome in to the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. It was a great conference championship weekend. Go Dogs. We got the job done in the SEC championship game. We'll talk about that. Talk about all the other conference championship games. And we had one non-conference championship game as well that had bowl eligibility. Talk about the FCS playoffs here, and then we'll get into the NFL Week 13 slate. We got Monday Night Football coming up tonight. Bucks, Saints, which we'll preview at the end, as well as the Week 14 opener, Raiders at the Rams. So starting off on Friday, Conference USA Championship game, UTSA, the Roadrunners getting it done, blowing out North Texas 48-27 at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Frank Harris was absolutely stellar. 32 of 37, 86.5%, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, 16 carries, 49 yards, a touchdown, and he also caught one pass for 3 yards. North Texas's quarterback, Austin Allen, 14 of 29, 48.3%, 194 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 3 carries for 12 yards. He struggled mightily in this one. But the UTSA running game was stellar. Running back Kevorian Barnes, 28 carries, 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 catch for 7 yards. UNT had a good running game as well. Their number one running back Ikeka Ragsdale, 17 carries, 108 yards for him. And then I absolutely love Zachary Franklin. I've made this known a couple times throughout the season. The UTSA wide receiver led the game in receiving. 10 receptions, 144 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just an outstanding night, and possibly last home game there, end of his career there at UTSA, just the bowl game to go. UTSA's wide receiver Joshua Cephas also had double-digit catches, 11 receptions, 84 yards, and he threw the 3-yard completion to Frank Harris there. Defensively, a lot of great performances. I have to go with UTSA corner Ken Robinson, though. 3 tackles, 2 solos, a half a tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, 1 QB hurry, and a pick. UTSA covered -8.5 over 70. Also on Friday night, Pac-12 championship game, number 11 Utah upsetting and blowing out number 4 USC 47-24 at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Caleb Williams got injured in this game, has a hamstring. We'll talk about that, but the injury limited him in the second half, but he had a Heisman type first half. 28 of 41, 68.3%, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 12 carries, 21 yards, and a fumble. Utah quarterback Cam Rising was outstanding, 22 of 34, 64.7%, 310 yards, 3 touchdowns, 8 carries, 18 yards. Converted quarterback Jaquindon Jackson led the game in rushing for the Utes, 13 carries, 105 yards, 2 rushing scores. And USC really couldn't get the ball going on the ground at all. Their leading rusher, Austin Jones, 15 carries, 35 yards. It's only 2.3 per carry. 4 catches for 40 yards. USC wide receiver Taj Washington led the game in receiving, 6 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. And how about the Knights for defensively for Utah? Linebacker Mahamoud Diabate and defensive end Greg Reed. 8 tackles for Diabate, 6 sacks, 6 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. And then Reed had 5 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles, 1 QB hurry as well. Utah +3 wins outright over 68. Saturday, Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship. Another upset, number 10 Kansas State getting it done over number 3 TCU, 31-28 in overtime at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Max Duggan for the Horned Frogs, 18 of 36, 50%, 251 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick, 15 carries, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Quarterback Will Howard, For Kansas State, 18 of 32, 56.3%, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And by the way, I wonder who lone wolfed the Wildcats in this one. I think it was the guy that's on here right now. But Kansas State running back Deuce Vaughn led the game in rushing. 26 carries, 130 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 30 yards. Really getting to his Darren Sproles Kansas State roots there. TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnston led the game in receiving. 4 receptions, 139 yards, and a fumble. And defensively, I'm going to go with TCU defensive lineman Dylan Horton. 5 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. Kansas State -1 covered under 60.5. By 1.5. MAC championship, Toledo getting it done over Ohio 17-7. Again, I think this game would have been a lot different had Curtis Rourke been available for the Bobcats, but it was CJ Harris with Rourke injured. 17-31, 54.8%, 163 yards a pick, 6 carries for 12 yards. The Rockets quarterback Daquan Finn, 16 of 25, 64%, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, 18 carries for 86 yards. Toledo running back Jaquez Stewart, 9 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Very good average there. He led the game in rushing. Their receiver, Jerwan Newton, also led the game in receiving. 6 catches for 77 yards. And then defensively, how about the day for Ohio defensive end Vonnie Watkins in a loss? 5 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 3 QB hurries. Toledo covered -3.5, under 54.5 easily. How about New Mexico State? The Aggies are bowl eligible. 65-3 whooping of Valparaiso FCS school there. So as expected. But Diego Pavia for the Aggies, 9 of 13, 69.2%, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 carries, 29 yards, and a rushing score as well. Valparaiso quarterback Michael Appel Jr., 16 of 31, 51.6%, 106 yards. Yeah, there were 5 quarterbacks played in this game. New Mexico State quarterback Gavin Frakes, 5 of 10, 50%, 58 yards. Valparaiso quarterback Jeffrey Jackson, 5 of 12, 41.7%, 54 yards. And then New Mexico State quarterback Weston Eget completed his only pass for 8 yards, and it was a touchdown throw. He did also fumble the ball. New Mexico State, he's listed as a corner. Amonte Watkins led the game in rushing. He had a 78-yard rushing touchdown. The New Mexico State wide receiver Cordell David led the game in receiving, 3 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Aggies wide receiver Jonathan Brady, also notable here, 4 catches, 90 yards, 2 scores there. Defensively, I am going to go with the bottom guy there, New Mexico State defensive lineman Lazarus Williams. 1 tackle, it was a solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 2 QB hurries. New Mexico State covered easily -31.5, over 55 by themselves. How about the Sun Belt Championship? Troy blowing out Coastal Carolina in Alabama there, 45-26. Grayson McCall returned for the Chanticleers, was not enough though. 29 of 41, 70.7%, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 11 carries, 18 yards, 1 touchdown, and a fumble. Turnovers prevalent there. Troy quarterback Gunnar Watson had himself a nice day, 12 of 17, 70.6%, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. Troy running back DK Billingsley, also very nice day. 9 carry, 57 yards, and 3 scores on the ground for him. Troy wide receiver Rajay Johnson led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Coastal wide receiver Tyson Mobley had a 100-yard day as well, 7 catches, 109 yards, and a score. And then Troy wide receiver Deshaun Stoudemire, just under 100 there, 3 catches, 99 yards, a touchdown. Coastal wide receiver Sam Pinckney having double-digit receptions in this one, 11 catches, 81 yards, and a score. Defensively, got to go with Troy linebacker Javon Solomon, 1 tackle. It was a solo, 1 tackle for loss, and 3 QB hurries. Troy covered easily, -6.5 over 49. Go Dogs, number 1, Georgia, 13-0, undefeated, 50-30 over number 14 LSU in the SEC championship game. LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels got injured, re-injured his ankle in this one, so he didn't play the entire second half. First half, though, for him, 16-24, 66.7%, 208 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Garrett Nussmeier came in for him, played pretty well, 15-27, 55.6%, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble. UGA quarterback Stetson Bennett, 23-29, 79.3%, 274 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a fumble. Very impressive day for Stetson there. Georgia running back Kendall Milton led the game in rushing, 8 carries, 113 yards, and he had 1 catch for -1 yard. UGA running back Kenny McIntosh scoring twice, 15 carries, 55 yards, those 2 scores, and then he caught 2 balls for 12 yards. LSU wide receiver Malik Neighbors and wide receiver Kayshawn Booty had 100-yard days for the Tigers here. 5 catches, 128 yards, a touchdown for Neighbors, and 6 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown for Booty. Defensively, got to go with 2 guys here. Georgia defensive lineman Jalen Carter was a beast once again, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection. And then how about the play by defensive back Christopher Smith? 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 tackle for loss. He had a pick. And the 96-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown was just an absolutely legendary play there for Christopher Smith. Georgia covered -17 over 51 easily. American Athletic Championship, number 18 Tulane getting their revenge, blowing out number 22 UCF 45-28. Michael Pratt for the Green Wave, 20 of 33, 60.6%, 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, a pick, 6 carries, 48 yards, and a rushing score as well. UCF played 2 quarterbacks, John Rice Plumlee, 21 of 39, 53.8%, 209 yards, and a touchdown. And then Thomas Castellanos was absolutely dreadful, 2 of 8, 25% for 7 yards. Tulane running back Tajay Spears, that's my boy. He had an outstanding championship game, 22 carries, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, a fumble, and 1 catch for 2 yards. Tulane wide receiver Deuce Watts and wide receiver Shea Wyatt, both having 100-yard days for the Green Wave. Watts had 3 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown. Wyatt, 5 catches, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. UCF wide receiver Kobe Hudson also scoring twice on 4 catches for 98 yards. And defensively, whole host of great defensive performances here. I think I'm going to go with the top guy there. Tulane linebacker Dorian Williams, 10 tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 1 QB hurry. Tulane covered -3.5 easily over 57.5. Mountain West Championship game, Fresno State, another team getting their revenge this season, beating Boise State 28-16 on the blue turf. Jake Haener, my boy, wasn't that great, but he got it done. 17 of 27, 63%, 184 yards, 1 touchdown. Boise State quarterback Taylon Green, 17 of 38, 44.7%, 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and 8 carries for 30 yards. That Bulldog defense was stout all day for Fresno State. Fresno State running back Jordan Mims led the game in rushing, 25 carries, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 catches for 5 yards. Leading the game in receiving, Boise State wide receiver Davis Cutter, that is offensive coordinator Dirk Cutter's son, 5 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. And also want to mention Fresno State wide receiver Nico Remigio, 5 catches, 68 yards on offense, and a 70-yard punt return touchdown on special teams. Defensively, I have to go with Fresno State defensive back Cam Lockridge. 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 pass deflection, and 2 picks off of Green there. Fresno State +3 wins outright under 55.5. Big Ten championship game, number 2, Michigan blowing out Purdue 43-22 in Indianapolis. Aiden O'Connell for the Boilermakers played pretty well, 32 of 47, 68.1%, 366 yards, 2 picks. But it just was not enough. They had him going there and couldn't get into the end zone many times. Really what killed them was their red zone offense. Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy, 11 of 17, 64.7%, 161 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick, and 5 carries for 14 yards. The story was Michigan running back Donovan Edwards once again for the second straight week after beating Ohio State. And now the Big Ten championship here. 25 carries, 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 catch for 4 yards. Leading the game in receiving, how about the night and the season for Purdue wide receiver Charlie Jones? 13 receptions, 162 yards. He's Purdue's whole offense pretty much. Crazy good receiver there for the Boilermakers. Defensively, got to go with Michigan defensive back Will Johnson. 2 tackles, both solos, 1 tackle for loss, 2 picks. And then also want to mention Michigan linebacker Kalel Mullings. He only had 1 tackle on defense, but he does play offense as well. 8 carries, 26 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns on the night. Michigan covered -15.5 over 54. And the nightcap Subway ACC Championship, number 9 Clemson completely destroying number 23 North Carolina 39-10. Cade Klubnik came in after DJ Uyunglele was benched. Uyunglele having going 2 of 5, 40% for 10 yards. Klubnik, though, 20 of 24, 83.3%, 279 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 carries, 30 yards, and a rushing score as well. Just a fantastic coming out party for Klubnik, and excited to watch him next year for the Tigers. Hunter Johnson also came in late for Clemson, 5 of 5, 100% completion for 9 yards. Drake May struggled for the 3rd consecutive game here, the freshman quarterback. Kind of ending the season on a sour note here, going into the bowl game. 26 of 42, 61.9%, 268 yards, 2 picks, 11 carries, 24 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 fumble. UNC running back Elijah Green led the game in rushing, 21 carries, 65 yards, also had 3 catches for 18 yards. Clemson wide receiver Cole Turner led the game in receiving, 3 catches, 101 yards. Great night for UNC wide receiver Josh Downs once again, even in a loss, 11 receptions, 100 yards even. Defensively, how about the nights for Clemson linebacker Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and corner Nate Wiggins? Trotter, 9 tackles, 7 solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 1 QB hurry. And then Wiggins there, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 pass deflections, and a 98-yard pick 6. Clemson covered easily, -7, under 64. We had the FCS second round of the playoffs this week, and like our picks, there were not any upset. There literally were 0 upsets in the FCS this weekend. So I got one wrong, picked Weber State. That was probably that was one of all of them were pretty close, but this one kind of wasn't. Number 8, Holy Cross, 35-19 over New Hampshire. The Crusaders continue to get their roll there in their undefeated season, 12-0 now. Max Brosmer for the Wildcats of UNH, 21 of 36 for 58.3%, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, really killed their offense most of the day. Holy Cross quarterback Matthew Sluka struggled mightily in this one. 6 of 16, 37.5%, 63 yards, 1 touchdown, 12 carries, 103 yards, and 2 touchdown rushes as well. So touchdowns, but not great yards wise. Who was great yards wise was Holy Cross running back Peter Oliver, 30 carries, 175 yards, 2 scores. Great day for him. Leading the game in receiving was New Hampshire wide receiver Joey Corcoran, 4 catches, 77 yards. Defensively, we had Holy Cross safety Walter Reynolds with 2 picks. Holy Cross corner John Smith with the other interception off Brosmer. And then fumble recoveries by Holy Cross linebacker Liam Anderson and corner Devin Haskins, and New Hampshire defensive end Josiah Silver. Holy Cross covered -7 under 55.5 by 1.5. Number 7, Incarnate Word continuing to move on, 41-38 over Furman in a comeback effort. Lindsey Scott Jr. with one of the plays of the year. Go look it up if you have not seen it. The Cardinals quarterback falling down and just throwing up a prayer, getting it answered with a touchdown pass. 33 of 49 for Scott, 67.3%, 394 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 2 picks though, 23 carries, 124 rushing yards there. So crazy day for him. 518 total yards, 5 touchdowns for Lindsey Scott. Tyler Huff, the Furman quarterback, 16 of 28, 57.1%, 171 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 9 carries, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns there, 3 total touchdowns for Huff. UIW running back Marcus Cooper led the game in rushing, 22 carries, 104 yards, led the game in rushing outside of Scott, I should say. 4 catches, 11 yards, and a fumble for Cooper. Leading the game in receiving, the crazy day for UIW wide receiver Darian Chafin, 8 catches, 166 yards, 3 touchdowns, magnificent in a playoff game for him. And then his running mate, wide receiver Taylor Grimes, 11 receptions, 112 yards, and a touchdown as well. Defensively, a lot of interceptions here. How about Furman corner Callie Chiswick? 2 picks. One of them was a 69-yard pick 6. And then the interceptions for UIW, defensive back Brian Mays and defensive back Elliott Davison. Furman covered +9.5 over 64.5. Easily. Number 5, William and Mary absolutely annihilating Gardner-Webb 54-14. Tribe quarterback Darius Wilson, 14 of 24, 58.3%, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns, 8 carries, 89 yards. Coming in for him was Tyler Hughes. He went 2 of 2, 62 yards, and a touchdown. The 3 quarterbacks played for Gardner-Webb. Matthew Caldwell, 7 of 15, 46.7%, 103 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Bailey Fisher, 6 of 10, 60%, 50 yards, 1 pick, 2 carries, 10 yards, and a fumble. And then Xavion Brower, 2 of 6, 33.3%, 24 yards, a pick, 7 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown. So, yeah, turnover city for the Bulldogs of Gardner-Webb. 5 total between the 3 quarterbacks there. Yeah, crazy day. But Gardner-Webb running back and Nari Gaither led the game in rushing, 12 carries, 89 yards, 1 catch for 10 yards. William and Mary running back Bronson Yoder, nice day for him, 16 carries, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble, 1 catch for 5 yards. Tribe wide receiver JT Mayo led the game in receiving, 2 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then the defensive plays here, William and Mary, defensive back Ty Freeland had 2 interceptions, One interception for William and Mary, corner Ryan Poole, and defensive back Malcolm Spencer. And then fumble recoveries by William and Mary linebacker Trey Watkins, linebacker Braden Stabe, and then Gardner Webb, corner TJ Jones. William and Mary covered easily minus 10 over 61.5. The Jackrabbits, number 1, South Dakota State, crushing Delaware 42-6. Mark Gronowski, nice day, 11 of 15, 73.3%, 131 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 carries, 73 yards, and another score there. Delaware played 3 quarterbacks. Ryan O'Connor was their leading passer, 10 of 21, 47.6%, 104 yards, 13 carries, 11 yards. I believe Nolan Henderson got injured in this game. That's why O'Connor had to come in. 3 of 5 for Henderson, 16 yards. And then Zach Gwynn also playing. He went 3 of 3 for 8 yards. South Dakota State running back Isaiah Davis had a great day. 14 carries, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Delaware wide receiver Tyrick Pitts led the game in receiving. 5 catches, 57 yards. Defensive plays here. South Dakota State safety Matthew Durant's. He had a 0-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then Delaware long snapper Jake Reed had a fumble recovery. South Dakota State covered easily minus 17 over 47.5 by the hook. Number 4, Montana State getting it done 33-25 over Weber State. Weber quarterback Kylan Weiser came in for Bronson Barron, 9 of 13, 69.2%, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 1 carry for 14 yards. Barron, like I mentioned, 9 of 13, 69.2%, 82 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Montana State quarterback Tommy Mellott, touchdown Tommy. He did not score in this game, but had a lot of yards. 13 of 19 passing, 68.4%, 91 yards. How about the rushing stats for Mellott? 21 carries, 167 rushing yards for Tommy Mellott there. Montana State also played quarterback Sean Chambers, 2 of 2, passing 75 yards through touchdowns on both of his passes. And he also had 14 carries, 83 yards, and a rushing score. So great day for Sean Chambers there, the former Wyoming quarterback, I believe. Montana State running back Isaiah Ifanse led the game in rushing outside of Mellott, 10 carries, 91 yards, 1 catch for minus 6 yards. Weber State wide receiver Ty McPherson led the game receiving wise, 5 catches, 59 yards, and a touchdown. And one defensive player to speak about, linebacker Danny Uliulakepa. Yeah, that one crushes me every time. Uliulakepa. I guess so. For Montana State, he had the interception of Weiser there. So Montana State covered minus 6.5. They win by 8, under 62.5. Number 6, Samford getting it done in overtime, 48-42 over Southeastern Louisiana. Quincy Crittenden coming in for the injured Michael Hires, 26 of 40, 65%, 314 yards, 4 touchdowns, 20 carries, 94 yards, 1 touchdown, and a fumble. Hires when he was in 2 of 3, 66.7%, 27 yards. Sela quarterback Cephas Johnson III, 19 of 30, 63.3%, 173 yards and a pick. But all on the ground, he was electric, 15 carries, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a fumble. Sela running back Carlos Washington Jr. led the game rushing outside of Johnson and Crittenden. 9 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Samford running back Jay Stanton also scoring twice, 16 carries, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 21 yards. Samford wide receiver Kendall Watson led the game in receiving, 7 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. And then Samford wide receiver Judd Cockett there He scored twice on 4 catches for 90 yards. Defensive players here, Samford defensive back Fred Flavors had the interception. Samford defensive tackle Seth Simmer had a fumble recovery, and Sela defensive lineman Tanano Gualua had a fumble recovery as well. Southeastern Louisiana covered +7 and over 65.5 easily. 90 scored in that game. Number 3, North Dakota State crushing Montana 49-26. Montana playing 2 quarterbacks here. Daniel Britt, 12 of 20, 60%, 108 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 12 carries, 18 yards. And then Lucas Johnson, 8 of 14, 57.1%, 70 yards, 1 fumble, 1 rushing touchdown. North Dakota State quarterback Cam Miller, 6 of 10, 60%, 58 yards and a pick, 8 carries, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But the day was the North Dakota State running game. Kobe Johnson, 12 carries, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns for Johnson. Outstanding game for him. Also pretty good too. Running back Tamarick Williams for the Bison. 11 carries, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Montana running back Isaiah Childs, just short of 100 there. 17 carries, 99 yards. 3 catches for 14 yards. Leading game in receiving was Grizz wide receiver Aaron Fontes, 5 catches, 75 yards. And then defensive plays here, Montana corner Corbin Walker, 58-yard pick 6. North Dakota State linebacker Cole Wisniewski, he had a 0-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then NDSU linebacker Nick Kubitz and safety Dawson Weber there, both having picks. North Dakota State covered easily, -9 over 52. SWAC championship game here. Number 10, Jackson State rolling over Southern, as everyone knew they would. 43-24, 12-0 season for the Tigers there of Jackson State, heading to the Celebration Bowl against North Carolina Central. Shedeur Sanders was outstanding once again. 30 of 43, 69.8%, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 carries for 16 yards. Jackson State also playing quarterback JP Andrade. He threw 1 pass. It was an interception. Not very good. Southern quarterback Glendon McDaniel there, 15 of 34, 44.1%, 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 20 carries, 162 yards, and 2 rushing scores. Southern also playing quarterback Deshaun McCray, 1 of 2 passing, 50%, -3 yards, and a pick, 3 carries, 15 yards, and a fumble. Jackson State running back Sivion Wilkerson, 15 carries, 61 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 catches for 5 yards. Jackson State wide receiver Shane Hooks, 5 catches, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns to lead the game in receiving. And great defensive performances by Jackson State here. Interceptions by safety Herman Smith III, corner Tavion Beasley, safety Cameron Silman Craig, and a fumble recovery by defensive lineman Justin Ragan. And then Southern also got a pick from defensive back Jordan Carter, and a fumble recovery. Actually, I forgot. Jackson State had another fumble recovery there. Defensive lineman Antonio Doyle Jr. Southern did cover, though, +20.5 over 51. And the final game for the FCS second round of the playoffs here, number 2, Sacramento State. My Sacramento State Hornets, as I am calling them, since I've followed them most of the season, and I've been on them. Great story there. 38-31, close one over Richmond. Comeback effort there. Sacramento State playing their 2 quarterback system. Jake Dunaway, 19 of 39, 48.7%, 317 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Struggling there was Dunaway. Asher O'Hara kind of picked him up a little bit. 5 of 8, 62.5%, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 carries, 53 yards. Richmond quarterback Reese Udinsky, 21 of 39, 53.8%, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1 fumble. So almost nullifying the picks from Dunaway there. Richmond running back Aaron Dykes, great day rushing the balls, 20 carries, 109 yards to lead the game in rushing, 1 catch for 25 yards. And then the Sacramento State tight end Marshall Martin led the game in receiving, 10 catches, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns for Martin there. Sac State wide receiver Pierre Williams, also great game, 4 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. And then Richmond wide receiver Leroy Henley scoring twice on 7 receptions for 84 yards. How about Sacramento State running back Elijah Tolliver having a 95-yard kick return touchdown to help the offense out. And interceptions coming from Richmond defensive back Tyrick Funderburk. He had 2 picks on the day. Richmond defensive back Amir Hall having 1, and Sac State safety Cameron Broussard having 1 interception as well. And then Sac State defensive lineman Killian Roscoe having 1 fumble recovery. Richmond easily plus 14.5 covers over 54. So the top 8 seeds move on to the quarterfinals this weekend. It will be exciting weekend of FCS football. NFL here, the Eagles crushing the Titans in Philly, 35-10. Jalen Hurts was absolutely outstanding. 29 of 39, 74.4%, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 carries, 12 yards, and a rushing score as well. Ryan Tannehill struggled, 14-22, 63.6%, 141 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 carries, 34 yards. Malik Willis came in late. He threw 2 of 4, 50% for 16 yards. The Eagles shut down Derrick Henry all day, 11 carries, 30 yards. That's just 2.7 yards per carry for King Henry there. I think we took his crown. 2 catches, 8 yards for Henry as well. And how about the days for the Eagles receivers here? Mentioned Jalen Hurts, but A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith also very great. Brown, 8 catches, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns on 10 targets against his former team. And then Devontae Smith, 5 catches, 102 yards, 1 touchdown on 8 targets. Defensively, have to go with my 2 boys at the bottom there. Eagles defensive end Josh Sweat, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. And linebacker Hassan Reddick, 2 tackles, 1 sack, 4 hits on Tannehill. Eagles covered easily, minus 4.5 over 44.5. By the hook. Steelers getting the job done, 19-16 in Atlanta. Kenny Pickett looked pretty good, 16-28, 57.1%, 197 yards, a touchdown, 7 carries, 14 yards. Marcus Mariota for the Falcons, 13-24, 54.2%, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick, 3 carries for 17 yards. Steelers running back Najee Harris has looked very good the last couple of games, even after going out against Indy last week with the oblique. Came back, had a great game, 17 carries, 86 yards to lead the game in rushing, and also caught 1 ball for 6 yards. Falcons wide receiver Drake London led the game in receiving, 6 catches, 95 yards on 12 targets. Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson also having double-digit targets there, 5 catches, 60 yards on 11 targets. Got to shout out tight end Connor Hayward, his first career touchdown for the rookie 5th-round H-back out of Michigan State. Also Cameron Hayward's brother there, both on the screen today. 1 catch for 17 yards and a touchdown on his only target. Defensively, I'm going to go with his brother, Cameron Hayward. Defensive tackle for the Steelers, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and a QB hit. Steelers did cover minus 1.5, under 42.5. Packers getting back on track 28-19 over the Bears. Aaron Rodgers still owns Chicago. Unfortunately for the Bears there. Justin Fields, 20 of 25, 80%, 254 yards, 2 picks, though, 6 carries, 71 yards, and a rushing score. 6 straight games. I believe that's an NFL record for a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, decent day, 18 of 31, 58.1%, 182 yards, and a touchdown. The Packers got their ground game going once again, though. Running back A.J. Dillon, 18 carries, 93 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches for 26 yards to lead the game in rushing. Bears wide receiver Equanimeous St. Brown led the game in receiving, 3 catches, 85 yards on 4 targets. And the miraculous run for rookie wide receiver Christian Watson continues. It was 8 touchdowns in 4 games, 3 receptions, 48 yards, a touchdown on 6 targets. And he ran a 46-yard touchdown as well. Defensively, got to go with Packers corner Jair Alexander, 7 tackles, 6 solos, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and a pick. Packers covered -3.5 over 45. How about the Lions destroying the Jags in Detroit? 40-14. Jared Goff was great. 31 of 41, 75.6%, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence got dinged up in the middle of the game, came back in the second half, though. Good to see that happen. 17 of 31, 54.8%, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 carries, 32 yards. In that time, quarterback C.J. Beathard for the Jags, 2 of 3, 66.7% for 6 yards. Lions running back DeAndre Swift led the game in rushing, 14 carries, 62 yards, a touchdown, 4 catches, 49 yards on 6 targets. Jamal Williams scoring another touchdown in this one. Just crazy production from him at the goal line this season. And then the day for Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, just ridiculous. 11 receptions, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns on 12 targets, 11 of 12. That is pretty crazy. Jags wide receiver Christian Kirk also over 100 yards, 6 catches, 104 yards on 8 targets. And then Lions wide receiver DJ Chark Jr. facing his old squad, 2 yards short of 100, 5 catches, 98 yards on 6 targets. Defensively, have to go with Jags linebacker Chad Muma, the rookie out of Wyoming. 11 tackles, 7 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. That's the Chad Muma I have been waiting on. Lions covered -1, easily over 51. Vikings making another red zone stand and getting another 1-score win. I believe they're 9-0 or something like that in 1-score games. It's just absolutely crazy. Mike White for the Jets couldn't get it done this week. 31 of 57 total pass attempts in this one. 54.4%, 369 yards, 2 picks, and he had a rushing score as well. Kirk Cousins was decent, 21 of 35, 60% for Kirk, 173 yards, a touchdown. Jets rookie running back Zonovan Knight, good game for him, 15 carries, 90 yards, 5 catches for 28 yards on 5 targets. Leading the game in receiving, the run continues for Jets rookie wide receiver Garrett Wilson, 8 catches, 162 yards on 15 targets. Jets wide receiver Corey Davis also having double-digit targets here, 5 catches, 85 yards on 10 targets. And then Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson getting in on the double-digit target gang as well. 7 receptions, 45 yards, 1 touchdown on 11 targets. Defensively, gotta go with Jets defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 2 QB hits. Vikings cover -3 over 44. And for the second time this season, we have a tie in the NFL. Commanders 20, Giants 20. Taylor Heineke for Washington, 27 of 41, 65.6%, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, 25 of 31, 80.6%, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 12 carries, 71 yards, and a fumble. Commanders running back Brian Robinson Jr. led the game in rushing, 21 carries, 96 yards, 2 catches for 15 yards. Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin leading the game in receiving, 8 receptions, 105 yards, 1 touchdown on 12 targets. A lot of good defensive performances in this game, but got to go with Commanders defensive tackle Deron Payne, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. This game ended on a short field goal from Giants kicker Graham Gano. Was a 58-yard attempt, fell a couple yards short. Giants, though, did cover plus 2.5 and under 40.5 by the hook. That's tough for any of those overbetters. Ravens in a comeback effort, 10-9 over the Broncos. Russell Wilson, 17 of 22, 77.3%, 189 yards. 2 carries, 21 yards. Lamar Jackson getting injured in this game, going 3 of 4, 75%, 11 yards. Tyler Huntley stepping up on the final drive, drives them 95 yards to the house for the game-winning touchdown, 27 of 32, 84.4%, very efficient there. 187 yards, 1 pick, 10 carries, 41 yards, and the game-winning rushing touchdown, the only touchdown of the game. Broncos running back Latavius Murray led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 47 yards, 4 catches for 14 yards. Broncos rookie tight end Greg Dulcich led the game in receiving, 6 catches, 85 yards on 8 targets. Defensively, I'm going to go with actually 4 different guys. It's ridiculous. But the tackle numbers for Broncos linebackers Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell, 17 tackles apiece, 9 solos for Singleton, 7 for Jewell, 17 tackles total for both, though. That's just crazy. And the other 2 guys I want to highlight are also Broncos defenders, safety Justin Simmons, 5 tackles, 4 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, 2 picks for him, 1 off Huntley, 1 off a trick play. James Prochet, the wide receiver for the Ravens, threw an interception on his only pass attempt. And then Broncos defensive tackle Deshaun Williams, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Broncos covered easily, plus 8.5, under 40.5 easily. Browns, Deshaun gets the win against his former team, 27-14 over the Texans. Kyle Allen for Houston, 20 of 39, 51.3%, 201 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 1 fumble. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson was very rusty and did not look very good in his first action back. 12 of 22, 54.5%, 131 yards, 1 pick, 7 carries, 21 yards. He didn't even score in his return. The Browns did not score a offensive touchdown in this game either, which is just crazy. The Texans were actually up 5-0 after getting a safety, and then I believe they were up 8-0 too, getting a field goal there. Or no, they went down 7-5. I forgot that. Browns running back Nick Chubb, though, led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 80 yards. The leading receiver in the game was Texans tight end Brevin Jordan, 4 catches, 46 yards on 5 targets. Browns wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones, 3 catches, 44 yards on 3 targets. He also had a 76-yard punt return touchdown. And then the crazy defensive player of the game here, going to go talk about 3 different guys here. Browns corner Denzel Ward, 6 tackles, 3 solos, 1 pass deflection, 1 QB hit, and a 4-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Texans defensive tackle Roy Lopez, 5 tackles, all of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, and a safety. And then Browns linebacker Tony Fields II, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 pass deflection, 16-yard pick 6. Browns covered minus 7.5, under 46. Seahawks back on track here, 27-23 over the Rams. Comeback effort by Geno Smith, who was great in this game. 28 of 39, 71.8%, 367 yards. That's a career high. 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1 fumble. Rams started quarterback John Walford, 14 of 26, 53.8%, 178 yards, 2 picks, 5 carries for 29 yards. Rams running back Cam Akers led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 reception for 0 yards. Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf both over 100 yards, both almost exactly same receiving yards, almost exact same stat lines too. Lockett, though, 9 catches, 128 yards, 1 touchdown on 12 targets. Metcalf, 8 catches, 127 yards, a touchdown on 8 targets. Defensively, a lot of great performances, but how about today for former Seahawk Rams linebacker Bobby Wagner? 7 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, 2 QB hits, and a pick. Rams covered plus 6.5 over 41. 49ers dominating the Dolphins 33-17 despite Jimmy G's injury, which we'll talk about. Tua Tagovailoa, though, 18 of 33, 54.5%, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a fumble. Turnovers galore for Tua, just not a good day for him. Skylar Thompson came in for him late after he dinged up his ankle, threw a pick on his only pass. Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 of 4, 50%, 56 yards going out early in the first quarter there. Brock Purdy was pretty good the rest of the way for San Fran, 25 of 37, 67.6%, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 66 yards. Receiving stats are ridiculous as always. 8 catches, 80 yards, a touchdown on 10 targets. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill led the game in receiving, 9 catches, 146 yards, a touchdown on 14 targets. 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel also double-digit targets here, 6 catches, 58 yards on 10 targets. A lot of great defensive performances. I'm going to talk about 2 guys here. 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw, 8 tackles, 7 solos, 1 pass deflection, and 23-yard fumble return for a touchdown. And then 49ers defensive end Nick Bosa, now the league leader in sacks, I believe 13.5 is the mark. 3 tackles, all of them solos. He had a hat trick of sacks, 3 in this game. 2 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits. Just dominate performance by Bosa here. Niners covered easily, -5 over 45.5. Bengals beating the Chiefs 27-24. Joey B is now 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes, which no other quarterback is. Joe Burrow, though, 25 of 31, 80.6% ultra efficient here, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 46 yards, and a rushing score. No turnovers for Joey B. Great day for him. Patrick Mahomes, 16 of 27, 59.3%, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, and a rushing touchdown. Bengals running back Samaje Perine, great day, filling in for Joe Mixon, 21 carries, 106 yards, 6 receptions, 49 yards on 7 targets. Leading the game in receiving, who else but Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase, 7 receptions, 97 yards on 8 targets. And defensively, 2 guys here, Bengals defensive end Sam Hubbard, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 QB hit. And Chiefs rookie defensive end George Karlaftis, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 QB hit. Bengals plus 2.5 win outright under 53. Raiders have now won 3 straight, 4 straight, something like that. They're on a roll, though. 27-20 over the Chargers. Justin Herbert for LA, 28 of 47, 59.6%, 335 yards, a touchdown. Raiders quarterback Derek Carr, 16 of 30, 53.3%, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Raiders running back Josh Jacobs went crazy once again, 26 carries, 144 yards, 1 touchdown, and a fumble, 2 receptions for 6 yards. Raiders wide receiver Devontae Adams also going crazy in this game. 8 receptions, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns on 12 targets. Also, massive target share here. Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen, 6 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown on 14 targets. 2 guys I want to highlight here. How about the monstrous day for Raiders defensive end Chandler Jones? 6 tackles, 5 solos, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and a handful, literally 5 hits on Herbert. Chargers corner Bryce Callahan, also worth mentioning, 6 tackles, 4 solos, a pass deflection, and a 26-yard pick 6. Raiders covered -2.5, under 49.5. Sunday Night Football was the game I thought it was going to be. Wasn't going that way through 3 quarters. 2-point game going into the 4th quarter, and the Cowboys outscored the Colts 33-0 in the 4th. Just ridiculous. Matt Ryan, 21 of 37, 56.8%, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a fumble. The turnovers were just killers late, and it just snowballed into an avalanche. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, 20 of 30, 66.7%, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick. Cowboys running back Tony Pollard led the game in rushing, 12 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 15 yards. Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 86 yards, a touchdown on 8 targets. And then Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup scoring twice on 4 catches, 23 yards for 7 targets. Defensively, I'm going to go with the bottom guy there, safety, Cowboys safety Malik Hooker, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 pass deflection, 1 pick, and a 38-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Also worth mentioning, though, Cowboys corner Deron Bland, 8 tackles, 4 solos, 2 pass deflections, and 2 picks. First 2 in his career, I believe. Cowboys easily -11, over 44.5 by themselves. NCAA news, there's a lot of it to go around. The transfer portal opened today. Over 500 football players getting into the portal, just flooding it. Most of them being at the FBS level. But some general news before we get into that in the coaching carousel. USC quarterback Caleb Williams, his hamstring injury, uncertain if he'll play in the Cotton Bowl. We'll have to monitor that as that game approaches. Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Is returning next season. The Huskies getting the good news today. So we'll see Penix back in that high-octane Washington offense. Not returning next season, Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson. He is going to forego the Gators bowl game and enter the 2023 NFL draft. I think that's a absolutely terrible decision. Richardson was highly inefficient and looked like he needed a lot more work and kind of finesse. But we'll see. The height, weight, speed guy, and does a lot of arm strength, but I think he needed a lot more time to fine tune and at least one more season there in Gainesville. But yeah, we'll see where he goes next in the draft. The all SEC team was announced, and a bunch of unanimous guys on the first team here. But starting off first team, wide receiver unanimous selection, Jalen Hyatt. Also at wide receiver, Dominic Lovett from Missouri. And Jalen Hyatt for Tennessee. Tackles, Broderick Jones, Georgia, and Darnell Wright, Tennessee. Guard, Osiris Torrance for Florida. The other guard, Emil Ekiyor Jr. for Alabama. Ricky Stromberg is your center for Arkansas. Unanimous tight end selection, Brock Bowers for Georgia. Quarterback is Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. And unanimous running back selection, Quinshon Judkins, Ole Miss. Also unanimous running back selection, Raheem Sanders for Arkansas. Your kicker is Jack Podlesny from Georgia, and your all-purpose selection is Ladietrick Griffin, Mississippi State. First team defense, defensive end BJ Ojulari from LSU. Defensive end Isaiah McGuire from Missouri. Defensive tackle Jalen Carter for Georgia. Alabama defensive tackle Byron Young. Unanimous linebacker selection Will Anderson Jr. for Alabama. Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders. LSU linebacker Harold Perkins Jr. Corners are Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State and Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. Your safeties are Christopher Smith from Georgia and Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M. Your first team punter is Kai Kroger for South Carolina. Your SEC offensive player of the year is Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker. Your defensive player of the year is unanimous selection Alabama linebacker Will Anderson Jr. And your SEC coach of the year is Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel. And your SEC newcomer of the year is Ole Miss running back Quinshon Judkins. Second team All SEC, South Carolina wide receiver Antwin Wells Jr., Vanderbilt wide receiver Will Shepard, Arkansas tackle Dalton Wagner, Missouri tackle Javon Foster, Arkansas guard Bo Limmer, Florida guard Ethan White, Georgia center Cedric Van Pran, Georgia tight end Darnell Washington, Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, Texas A&M running back Devin Achane, Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs, kicker Alabama kicker Will Reichard, and then all-purpose is Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Second team defense, Auburn defensive end Derek Hall, Tennessee defensive end Byron Young, LSU defensive tackle Mekhi Wingo, Kentucky defensive tackle Deion Walker, Georgia linebacker Jamon Dumas Johnson, Mississippi State linebacker Nathaniel Watson, Missouri linebacker Tyron Hopper, Georgia corner Keely Ringo, Auburn corner DJ James, Alabama safety Jordan Battle, Alabama safety Brian Branch. Your second team punter is Texas A&M's Nick Constantino. And that is it for your all SEC team. Coaching Ohio State wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, he announced today he won't play in the CFP. His trainer's telling him he would not be cleared by then, so he's going to continue to rehab and train for the draft, which he will declare for. The top 4 Heisman finalists will be announced tonight in about 45 minutes here at 6:45 Eastern on ESPN. We look forward to that before Monday Night Football. Coaching carousel news, Colorado has officially hired Jackson State head coach Deion Sanders, 27-5 with the Tigers. They are back-to-back SWAC titles, so very good coach heading to Boulder there. Interested to see who goes with him from Jackson State and what recruits he can pull. Already has a 5-star wide receiver committed to him to Colorado in the 2025 class. Liberty has a new head coach replacing Hugh Freeze, who left for Auburn. It is Coastal Carolina head coach Jamie Chadwell. He gets a $4 million annually deal there at Liberty. Coastal Carolina, they are almost finalizing their new head coach to replace Chadwell. They are expected to hire NC State offensive coordinator Tim Beck on a 5-year deal. South Florida USF has hired Tennessee offensive coordinator Alex Golesh as their next head coach. Texas State, they have their next head coach. They are hiring Incarnate Word head coach DJ Kinney after the FCS playoffs, I believe. North Texas, they are looking for a new head coach. Now they have fired head coach Seth Luttrell. Interesting move there. They made the Conference USA championship game just this past weekend. Now Luttrell out. Cincinnati has a new head coach to replace Luke Fickell, who left to come to Wisconsin. They have hired Louisville head coach Scott Satterfield. And for Louisville, former Patriots wide receiver and assistant coach there, Deion Branch, will be the interim head coach for their bowl game. Like I said, the transfer portal opened today, and it was flooded with names. I'm just going to list guys that I think are very important to me anyways, and are big names here. So we're going to go ahead with that. Ball State, they're in no specific order, but Ball State running back Carson Steele, Oklahoma State linebacker Mason Cobb, USF wide receiver Jimmy Horn Jr., who already has his list of Colorado, Houston, Penn State, and Texas A&M. UNC corner Tony Grimes, Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz. The quarterbacks are just crazy in this one. UCF quarterback Mikey Keene, Clemson quarterback DJ Uyunglele, Georgia Tech quarterback Jeff Sims, Penn State quarterback Christian Veilleux, NC State quarterback Devin Leary, who I think is going to be in high demand, Iowa wide receiver Arlen Bruce, Florida running back Naquan Wright, Washington State wide receiver DeJon Stribling, Clemson running back Kobe Pace, Baylor quarterback Kyron Drones, Texas quarterback Hudson Card, Vanderbilt quarterback Mike Wright, Western Kentucky quarterback Austin Reed, Oregon wide receiver Dante Thornton, UCF wide receiver Ryan O'Keefe, South Carolina tight end Austin Stogner, Cal linebacker Oluwafemi Oladejo. He has already committed to UCLA, so not very far to go there for Oladejo. Vanderbilt running back Ray Davis, Arkansas quarterback Malik Hornsby, Maryland tight end CJ Dupre. He has committed to Ole Miss. North Carolina defensive back Cameron Kelly, Boston College quarterback Phil Dracovic. He has committed to Pitt. Auburn and former Texas A&M quarterback Zach Calzada, Texas Tech quarterback Donovan Smith, Oregon linebacker Justin Flo, Michigan tight end Eric All, Oklahoma State quarterback Spencer Sanders, also I think going to be highly sought after, USC linebacker Raylan Goforth, Missouri wide receiver Dominic Lovett, Oklahoma State wide receiver Braylon Presley, Mississippi State wide receiver Ra Thomas, Pitt quarterback Keaton Slovis, Wake Forest running back Christian Turner, Oklahoma wide receiver Theo Weiss Jr., Oregon State quarterback Chance Nolan, Tulsa quarterbacks Davis Brin and Braylon Braxton, Western Michigan running back Sean Tyler, Indiana quarterback Connor Bazelak, Iowa quarterback Alex Padilla, Idaho State quarterback Tyler Vanderwall, Boise State quarterback Hank Bachmeier, and Oklahoma State safety Thomas Harper. So again, that's just some of the guys. Again, like a million guys have entered in the transfer portal today, and will continue to the next couple of days and so on. But yeah, just crazy flood of talent there and depth pieces needed. So we'll see where everyone goes as that gets settled out for the 2023 college season as we move into bowl season here. NFL news, though, some general stuff here. Packers, they have no plans to sit quarterback Aaron Rodgers, even if they do get eliminated from the playoffs. So it will be Aaron Rodgers going forward unless he gets benched or injured. 49ers are open to retaining quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo in 2023. That complicates things now with the injury, but we'll see what happens in the offseason. Free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. already visits with the Giants and Bills. He is in Dallas today visiting with them. So then he's going to head back and talk to his family and make a decision from there of those three teams. Commanders defensive end Chase Young did not play again this week. He is expected to finally make his season debut, though, in Week 15 against the Giants after their bye week this week. The teams are doing their homework once again on former 49ers head coach Jim Harbaugh, current Michigan head coach. Because of his success at Michigan, his former team he played for, the Indianapolis Colts, do have a head coach opening, so I'd be interested to see if Harbaugh is open to that, which I have heard he is open to going back to the NFL now. We have some Week 15 scheduling news. We have Saturday, triple header on NFL Network. 1 p.m. will be the Colts at the Vikings. 4:30 game will be the Ravens at the Browns, and an 8:15 game will be the Dolphins at the Bills. And also for week 15, the Giants at the Commanders game that has been flexed into Sunday Night Football. IR activations and one NFI. The Lions played their game with their first round pick, wide receiver Jameson Williams. He was officially activated off NFI, played in that one. Also playing in their game this weekend, Eagles defensive tackle Jordan Davis. Great to see him back. Helped a lot against Derrick Henry. Getting activated off IR, also Jets offensive lineman George Fant and Bucs safety Logan Ryan opening his practice window. Being put on IR, getting down to it where most likely is the end of your season if you're placed on IR at this point, unless you're a playoff team. Broncos wide receiver KJ Hamler with his hamstring injury. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. Heard he's not probably going to return this season. 49ers running back Elijah Mitchell. Eagles safety CJ Gardner-Johnson. Jets offensive lineman Cedric Obuhi. And Dolphins offensive tackle Austin Jackson. Some injury news here. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. He is week to week. He has a mild knee sprain. Not ruled out yet this week, but I don't think he will go. Probably going to be Tyler Huntley against the Steelers this week. 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. He is out for the season, broken foot, so it'll be Mr. Irrelevant from this past draft. Brock Purdy out of Iowa State, the last pick in the draft there. They will move forward with him, the rookie. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. He has an ankle injury, not considered significant though, so good news for Miami. Cowboys corner Anthony Brown, not good news for him. Out for the season, he tore his Achilles. Vikings defensive end Jonathan Bullard may not require surgery. He had a biceps injury this past weekend against the Jets. So we'll have to wait and see how long Bullard is out there. Chargers defensive end Sebastian Joseph Day. He has a knee injury, not believed to be serious though. Great news for them. Cannot afford to lose another defensive tackle if you're LA. And then finally, Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker III. He has a foot strain, not ruled out this week yet. So we'll have to monitor that throughout the week into the fantasy playoffs. Ins and outs for the game tonight. We have a couple here for the Bucs. Defensive lineman Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea. They are both good to go and expected to play. Transactions. The Panthers. They have waived quarterback Baker Mayfield. He asked for it, and the Panthers agreed that it was mutually beneficial. This does give the Panthers the Browns this does give the Browns a fifth rounder rather than the fourth rounder because Mayfield did not meet the conditions associated with that pick. And PJ Walker will now be the backup, rolling with Sam Darnold and PJ the rest of the way. Any team that does claim him on waivers, if he is claimed, they will owe him $1.349 million in base salary for the rest of the season. The Dolphins, with some tackle injuries, they have signed a former Chiefs tackle and Colts tackle Eric Fisher. So kicking the tires on Fisher there, see if he can help them out at a weak spot for them. 49ers, they have signed quarterback Josh Johnson off of the Broncos practice squad. Has been with the Niners a couple times in his past. Has been with a lot of teams throughout his NFL and other pro league football career. But yeah, Josh Johnson will be the new backup to Brock Purdy there in the Bay Area. Ravens, with Lamar Jackson's injury, they have signed quarterback Brett Hundley to back up Tyler Huntley, possibly this weekend. And the Bengals, waiving longtime punter Kevin Huber. They have Connor Cressman, who's been very good for them punting the ball. So Huber is now available. Career leader in most punting statistic categories there for Cincinnati. Pick standings. Yes, I am back on top of the mountain. 2-0 last week. I was the only one. I lone wolfed the Steelers on a Monday night. Great game for Kenny Pickett and Pittsburgh. And then we all got the Bills right on Thursday night football over the Patriots. So yes, I am now one game up on Mark. 18-9 for me. The only one to not have double-digit losses yet. Pretty good. And then I am now 3 games up on Logan. Still got to figure that out. I don't know how I have 27. I think it's supposed to be 27. So I got to figure out where Logan's supposed to be 15-12 or 14 or 15-13 or 14-13, something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But and then I am 5. I don't know. They both got 28. Mark and I have 27. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. But the Saints at the Bucks tonight. We are all on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have a 1.5 game lead over the Saints here in the division. And big game. I had the Saints winning the division in the preseason, so we'll see. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be that great of a game. Neither team is doing very well, but somebody's got to win the South. So yeah, we're all on the Bucks. Tom Brady gets it done at home. They run the ball a little bit. Don't throw it too much to Chris Godwin, please. And they get it done that way. And don't give it to Taysom Hill, Saints, either. We don't need that fantasy-wise. The over-under is 41. I'm rolling with the under in this game, 8:15 p.m. on ESPN. Thursday night, the Week 14 kickoff game is the Raiders at the Rams. We're all over the Raiders. I mean, I lone wolfed them this past weekend against the Chargers. They got it done. They are on a roll. Run the ball with Josh Jacobs. The Rams, I don't know what the status of Aaron Donald is. Short week, so who knows? But yeah, the Raiders have got it rolling. They're trying to make a push to the playoffs desperately from 5-7 now, just a couple of games out. So they need every game from here on out, and we all think they get it done on Thursday night in LA. The total for this one is 43, and I think I'm going to roll with the under. I just don't have any confidence in John Wolford and that Rams offense, even though they did score 23 against the Seahawks this week. 8:15 p.m. on Thursday, Prime Video. Next Monday, we will be back talking NFL Week 15. We'll have your college bowl recap and your NFL Week 14 Sunday recaps as well. We'll talk about the Monday night Week 14 closer, Patriots at the Cardinals. Interesting one there. And then the Thursday night kickoff game to Week 15, San Francisco at the Seahawks national TV spot for Brock Purdy and co. And as always, we'll have all your NFL and NCAA news, including transfer portal, coaching carousel, and injury-wise for NFL. As always, don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. At FAA_bets is our betting account on Twitter as well. And then FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Thank y'all for watching, and we will see you back on Friday.